Good evening, everyone. It's my great honor to introduce Dr. Bonk this evening for a research talk. And Dr. Bonk is a professor in the Instructional Systems Technology Department at Indiana University. And Dr. Bonk is a world-renowned researcher and who has received numerous awards. So I cannot even count the number of awards you have received. And Dr. Bonk has also published more than 400 papers and also authored or edited more than 20 books. So, and to me, Dr. Bonk is like my advisor and mentor. And also, one of the best thing about Dr. Bonk is he is one of the best motivational speaker. So that's why everyone wants him to give a talk on the seminar. And with that, I'll turn it to Dr. Bonk and for him to introduce his own team tonight.
Thank you, Dazhi. You put the pressure on, but I can say that I have presented with your instructor back in 2006 in Hawaii during an earthquake of a 6.9 and then a 6.6. I think we had to present in the dark, holding a laptop up. I think Dr. Kajong, who Andy studied with, was with us as well, presenting with me there in Hawaii, in Honolulu. That was interesting. And also at Purdue, I presented with your instructor, Dr. Yang, who was a graduate student at the time, or finishing up actually, and was my co-assistant in a regional conference. And then Dr. Hung, Andy's been I've seen in many places publishing, and in particular, I did a special issue in the International Journal of E-Learning. It was called a special path through e-learning in Asia. We have chapters in Taiwan, China, Korea, Japan, the Philippines, India, and other parts of Asia. So that was a really fun project that we had done. And we brought a whole group of scholars to join us at a conference in Las Vegas. You weren't there, I think, Andy, but that conference was everyone connected and bonded so that today we still correspond from that one conference event. You just don't know when a peak moment in your life will happen, but that's when it did. It was 2008 in November 19th, 17th to the 20th of November at the eLearn conference. And we had this so fabulous a time. We end up creating a conference from that conference. We created Global Learn and held it in Penang, Malaysia, as well as in Melbourne, Australia. And now we might redo it. We might create something for with East China Normal University, apparently. So eLearn has kind of been on the side for a while. I used to be on the board. Now it's going to be resurrected. I got an email yesterday asking me if I'd be interested in helping resurrect it and working with people in China. So, or Taiwan, I don't know, or both. So it's great to be here. It's great to be in Idaho again. I've talked to folks in Idaho once or twice before. Maybe the high school, the Idaho virtual high school people was one of the leaders working with Michigan people, I believe, at the time. Had a unique collaboration going on there, and it's great to be back. And I've been on a kind of a whirlwind tour of research projects recently, and doing a whole lot of things with different folks. But there's certain teams that stick out that I'm working on. Is this team that I brought with me tonight that are doing research on ChatGPT. And this project started, really our first meeting was in 2023, in January 2023. It's colder than heck, parking my car, went up to Xiaojing Ko's office, and Belle Lee was with, and Belle's my former master's student. She said, how about we study ChatGPT? And I said, well, tell me what you want to study. And she started explaining it. And I said, wait a minute, back up a few steps and really clarify the terms and what's going on and what you're attempting to do. And she said, we should look at YouTubers who are teaching languages online. And I said, well, sounds kind of interesting. I didn't realize that 8.5 months later, we'd already have 2 publications and we have 2 more papers written. One that's ready to go for a special issue in Tech Trends. The other one's in IEEE transactions and learning technology. Those are ones that are not published. The ones that are published appear in the journal called Languages, and then there's a journal with a long international journal of computer-assisted language learning, something like that. So we've got a few things that we've been working on really hard, and in particular, this is Belle's brainstorm that she said we should be doing this. And I said, okay, so you need to meet Xiaojing Ko, and we need to work with Xiaojing Ko, because Xiaojing got her doctorate at Indiana about 2011 or so, and was an instructional systems technology student who I knew was interested in language learning because she runs the Center for Language Technology. So she's in our huge building called Ballantyne Hall on our campus, the largest building on campus, running that center. And then Charan Wang joined us halfway through the project, and she's a grad of our language education program, language literacy culture, and they have all this long name, and has gotten a job 2 years ago with Kobe College. And she's got some very unique studies that she's done, in particular one looking at kids in Western China who are getting educated through synchronous technologies, having expats teach them English and other kinds of things over the wires. And she's been studying those cultural issues and technology issues and so forth. So with us tonight are Xiaojing Ko, who's ready to go to China and visit family and packing right now. I am packing, ready to go to the American U of Cairo. I leave in a day and a half, and I have 5 talks there. I have a talk at 2:30 this morning coming up to Malaysia, so I'm going to have a late night here. Belle Li was my master's student, as I mentioned, at Indiana, and decided to go up to the north, up to Purdue country for her doctorate, where she's doing great things and really working with wonderful people. Purdue in Indiana is very unique because it's probably the only state other than Florida which have 2 prominent programs in educational technology like it is. I mean, Florida State, here Purdue and Indiana. There's something in the corn that apparently lets the technology get funded really well and work really well, or whatever it is, because we've always had great funding in Indiana for technology, for higher education technology in particular, not as much in K-12, because we are like Ohio. Ohio makes all sorts of mistakes, and then we follow those mistakes, and then we pass legislation, then they rescind virtual school legislation. It's really a comedy of errors in Indiana. But at higher education level, Indiana's been a strong leader, as Florida and Florida State have been, and now we have places like Idaho that are joining, and other universities are becoming really emerging as the scenes, the places to go. San Francisco State being another, and I could go on and on for places that are prominent in our field. But Belle is going to be talking a bit about the scope and the methods, so she'll be covering the methods section. I'll be covering some of the context variables, and we'll both be talking about the implications of the studies. And so Belle, Xiaojing, and Sharon, you just want to say hello before I get started with the slides? Belle, why don't you go first?
Hello.
A little more than that. Tell them what you're interested in.
Okay. Hello, my name is Belle, and I'm a doctoral student at Purdue University. My research are mainly focused on AI in language education, and I'm also doing learning experience design. I have an app developed on Apple Store. It's about teaching heritage learners how to write Chinese, not write, but recognize Chinese characters.
Very creative, Belle. So, and I embarrass her again. The reason Belle Li got introduced to me is because her mother was studying with me and was a visiting scholar, and Belle decided to see what's going on in Indiana and stayed. So you never know what's going to happen in the connections here. Charan?
Oh, hello everyone. Yeah, I just moved to a new apartment.
So today, right?
Empty shelves in my background. Yeah. So I blurred them. It is very nice to see everyone tonight. I'm currently working in Kobe College, and I'm in the writing department, and my background is language education and educational technology too. So my research mainly focus on technology enhanced language learning. So yeah.
And tell them what books you're editing.
Oh yeah, I'm currently co-editing 2 books, one on AI and writing, and one on AI and language education with Routledge.
So there's another thing that can happen to you. You can have one call for proposals and get so many that you don't have one book to edit, you got two. So she's
originally we planned it to only have one, but we got too many proposals and many are very good, so we decided to have two. So this topic is really,
yeah, that's a good sign, right? So here's the thing. I highly recommend, if you're interested in AI, do it now, do it early. You know, I was an early player in the online learning, blended learning space, and that helped my career. I hate to say you have to get going, because there's so many special issues right now. They're looking for papers. There's, you know, there's just manuscripts, including end books. Xiaojing, you want to jump in? I know you're not, you got a headache, you told me earlier. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. A little allergy maybe. So nice meeting you, everyone. I'm Xiaojing Ko, and I'm a graduate. I'm a student of CURT, and I graduated from YU in 2011. And starting 2012, I started to direct the Center for Language Technology at IU. So my major role is to support language instructors to use and technologies to enhance their teaching. I also organize all kinds of events and professional workshops and students language learning events and things like that. And through this research, and I've been one good result, very helpful result, is a practical workshop that I recently just did for our language instructors, showing them how to some practical skills to use AIs for an AI-assisted task and materials development for language instruction. So if you're interested in that, I can also share the link. And that workshop was done last week. And I'm also very interested in AI literacy, both for language learners and educators. Thank you.
Thank you, Xiaojing. And Xiaojing, you might put some of these links, and Belle, you might, and Sharon, put, you know, if you have, you'll put some links in the chat window for everyone here, and maybe Dazhi can collect all those and put them into one email for the people that didn't come tonight, and they can also watch the recording of this event. So we've got 35 people here, which is more than we expected. So thank you very much. Of course, there's 4 of us, so 31 of you. So again, thanks for coming tonight. And just a precursor, one more precursor. We've never presented on our study before, okay? We got 2 this is unusual. We've got 2 publications already, but never presented on it. You know, that's a rarity. And when I started as a first-year professor at West Virginia University, which has problems right now in fine. But when I started, I was just going to conference to conference to conference to conference. So one tip I've got for you tonight is, when you go to a conference and present a paper, try and write the paper before the conference and submit it somewhere, because once the conference is over, you'll forget it, want to go to the next conference and so forth. So be proactive, be planful, be organized. Yes, it's great to go to conferences and meet people, but it's more important to get your thoughts down on paper and written and disseminated, or it's equally important anyhow. I made a huge mistake early in my career. Don't make the same mistake but most of you are working full time. I realize that, but still, and maybe you're not interested in too much in publishing, but and by the way, if you are, I have another talk on publishing and writing, the 3 G's of writing, gentle guidelines, great stories, and gigantic scholarly gains. So maybe next semester I can come back and present that in Dr. Yang's class. So we'll see. So let's get started here, if I can find this. And we don't have any audio or any video, so there's nothing that we have to worry about the technology crashing on us or something. So, but the main thing we have to do is make sure that we find the right talk, and here it is. And so, again, we've just been working so hard on this project here, and really we're looking at YouTubers who are utilizing ChatGPT in varying degrees. Some are in low, softly. Some are more robustly, and some are more like pioneers out there. Some are just dabbling in it. So quite a wide range. And by the time we sat down as a team to look at what's out there, am I right, Belle? It was 140 people about, right? So 140 people had created, they have a YouTube channel where they discussed ChatGPT or generative AI within what was that by February was that, or by January, within 2 or 3 months, right, Bill?
April.
April. So
More than 140.
More than, okay, so huge. This is happening out there, so here's our team. You've already met the team from Purdue, from Indiana, from Colby College, but everyone has their roots at Indiana University. Every one of the people here has either degrees at Indiana or taught at Indiana, and so forth. So the first 2 studies that were published here, as I mentioned, they're already out: Embracing the Disruptive Language Teaching and Learning Field, Analyzing YouTube Content Creation Related to ChatGPT, which is in Languages Journal special issue. And it's the article in the special issue has been downloaded the most as of the last time I looked, and it's open access. So the other thing I like is open access journals. The other one, Exploring the Multilingual Applications of ChatGPT, Uncovering Language Learning Affordances of the YouTuber Videos in iCult, that's open access as well. So you can get those. If you can't find them, let us know. And then I actually think the last paper listed there, the IEEE Transactions on Learning Technologies, it's in review. We're going to find out hopefully within a month, maybe 2 at the most, whether we're accepted and have revisions. That paper, I think, has a unique framework, even though that's not in this talk. I don't, right, Belle? We didn't put that framework there. Maybe, did you put one slide on the framework in here, Belle?
Yeah, I put it at the end.
At the end, that's what I thought. So that's, to me, the most unique contribution that we have from a research standpoint, because people have been studying self-directed learning for decades, maybe a half century or more. And this is a new framework to start to understand what's going on in those self-directed learning frameworks, because we have open access to contents and ebooks and all sorts of things, right? And then the 4th paper is in Tech Trends. I'm working on it tonight, so we have to get done so I can get that edited. Exploring Inventions in Self-Directed Language Learning with Generative AI, Implementations and Perspectives of YouTube. We've proposed it to Tech Trends. Now they've asked us to write it up. We've written it up. I'm the one delaying it. I have to do the last review. So Belle's going to take over here for 10, 12 slides, and I'll come back, and then we'll go back to Belle, and Xiaojing and Sharon will be adding in comments throughout. Belle?
Okay, so I will briefly talk about focus of each research. For our first one, we took a deep dive into YouTube content that relates to ChatGPT with a specific focus on its role in language education, investigating its benefits, drawback, and concerns. Our second research project expand our exploration into multilingual application of ChatGPT. We continue to analyze those videos, but in a different pool. This time we was focused on the educational affordances across different languages. We identified 18 languages in YouTube community. We also identified several best practice and showcased 4 of them at the end of our article. Our third research project, we shifted our perspective to that of language teaching YouTuber. We were particularly interested in how teachers use ChatGPT to facilitate students' self-directed language learning. And our last research project it's a model that as mentioned by Dr. Bonk, is a refined model. And I guess some of you already use ChatGPT very extensively, but I still wanted to talk about what is ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT, what is ChatGPT? And it told me that it's a large language model. It can generate human-like based on the input they received. So it's all about prompt. And it can engage in text-based conversation, answer questions, provide explanations, offer suggestions, but it realized that it can produce incorrect or nonsensical answers. So you will be very cautious of the content produced. Before ChatGPT, there are already research base to build upon. For instance, this is a very good example. Huang and his team conduct a review of 25 articles on the topic of chatbot supported language learning. This is even before ChatGPT. And what the study reviewed 3 technical affordance of chatbot, 5 pedagogical uses, and several chatbot challenges. They are applied to ChatGPT as well.
And so that study is from Timothy Hu and his colleagues, who's at the University of Hong Kong. He was at National Institute of Education in Singapore. He's an alum of our program. Dr. Kifeng Timothy Hu has done extremely well since he graduated, and this is just one of many studies. He had more studies as a first-year graduate student than most of the faculty. Let's put it that way. He's amazing, kind of like Bell and Xiaojing and Sharon, really amazing people.
So in our educational, in the education field, most of the current discussion about ChatGPT focuses on the accuracy and the quality of the content it provides, and also some of the research are discussing the potential for misuse, and a lot of institution organization provide guidelines for on ethical uses. And specific to ChatGPT, in language education, there are already some of the research as well. And for the second one, Lucas, they write a tech review, examine the affordance of the ChatGPT for language teaching and learning. This one gets a lot of citation already. Like
so
I believe
that Kanke
50.
does as well.
Right,
and Kanke's
yes.
written many, just amazing how many things they publish. It's just been a few months that things have been out. Yeah.
Right. So there are more, like the last one, they explored the students' perspective, like they reviewed the positive impact of ChatGPT on reading and writing skills. But you can see there is a gap. There is a need to explore the affordability of ChatGPT for different languages. Most of them are focused on English. And as well as how teacher and learner can utilize them, its potential in diverse linguistic contexts.
So now I guess I'll talk a little bit about the YouTubers that we interviewed or that took part in our study. We could not contact all 140 or 160 or 200 in this summer, but we interviewed about 20 of them, 19 or 20, close to, plus some students, plus some AI experts. We want to have there's 2 more studies that we're in the midst of, is one of looking at the experts out there developing such tools and what they believe is beneficial for language learners and others, and then of the students themselves who are utilizing these technologies to become better at particular languages that they're learning. And so, we would look at frameworks for thinking about the adoption of technologies. Some of them talk about, the early adopters and the digital pioneers, which really we would call these YouTubers. I mean, almost every one of them. We didn't give them a scale to fill out or a survey. We pretty much classify them as pioneers and early adopters. And YouTube videos play a key role in shaping the ways in which we're utilizing these technologies today, because people are looking to YouTube as their education channel, as their instructor, as their source, as their means, as their informal learning outlets. And informal learning vastly outweighs formal learning today. About 90% of learning is informal. And YouTube, when I talk to people, it's YouTube, 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 YouTube. In fact, when we interviewed, right, Belle? Well, all we heard was YouTube. How do you learn? YouTube. Or TikTok maybe once in a while. So these are among the people in the 140 or so videos, and they're teaching, the 2 gentlemen in the bottom teaching Japanese, or they're teaching Chinese, the people at the top there. And so we've got links, and if you'd like to explore, we'd be happy to send you the links to, and let you explore. Now, these 2 gentlemen from Brazil are living in Europe right now, but they're polyglots. And one of them on the right knows 14 languages, and the one on the left knows 16 languages, from Thai to Spanish to Farsi to whatever, and they Russian, Ukrainian, and they can speak it. They say when they could sit at a bar and order a beer in all those languages and chat with friends. Well, they were on my podcast show, Silver Lining for Learning, 2 months ago. You can watch it. You can go to my silverliningforlearning.org and listen to explain what it's like to be a polyglot, and so forth. And these are all languages that the first gentleman knew. So, it's Serbian, Finnish. I'm sure the Finnish is not easy. I've been to Finland, Bulgaria, and they actually have something, a language boost. So some of these people most of these people make their living selling content through YouTube, YouTube content and other things, other kinds of content in addition to YouTube, of course, lesson plans and activities and so forth. And they actually have a company called Language Boost. And so, yeah, all these people have videos. When we interview them, it takes a day to produce a video. Sometimes 8, 9, 10 hours. At least 3 or 4 hours to produce. And having people review the words and pronounce them and grammar check and all sorts of things that are taking place within there. And this gentleman is the more interesting. I tried contacting him. He has a website, Street Smart Languages. He walks the streets in New York and other places, and he meets people to try out a new language that he's learning. Like in the case on the right-hand side, he's learning Korean. He has a aide who's a helper during the day. She follows him around teaching him Korean language. He's a funny as heck, and but unfortunately he's not in their study. And other people that I'm just showing you various folks that are in those and what their website looks like and so forth. He's not in ours as well. This one's teaching Japanese, and she's teaching Chinese, and here you can see she's saying, well, it's possible to learn Chinese on your own learning textbooks. Having a teacher or tutor can be helpful. It provides a teacher can be helping them in YouTube, provide some guidance, help you with pronunciation, give you some motivation, some accountability, some individualized instruction, and so forth and so on. This one's website is called Dope Chinese. I'm not sure if I'd name my website Dope, English or something like that. But this person, Grace Gao, is someone we did actually interview. She was a student or a visiting scholar at IU for a while teaching Chinese, and has gone back to Taiwan. Belle's going to take back over here and talk about how we subdivided the data into the 4 different studies and some of the measures and the methods.
Okay, so all of our data are YouTube based or YouTuber based, as you can see here. Our first research identified 140 YouTube videos. There are more out there, but we only include 140. We will talk about the inclusion criteria after the slides. And our second research included 40 high quality videos from 2 different rounds of search. And we also analyzed the comments below the videos. We identified 18 languages. If you're interested on the nuance between this 18 languages, how the affordance is, you could read our articles. And the last one, the third one, we interviewed 14 language teaching YouTubers. So we see this, we wanted to have their perspective, like more teacher side perspective. And the last one, we interviewed 90 YouTubers, and we also analyzed the 30 videos that they posted online. Videos are more than YouTubers because some of them posting more than one videos.
And when we say videos that include aspects of ChatGPT, they've got,
Right.
some of these people have hundreds of videos, and they've been doing language instruction online for a decade, or at least for a few years. We focus mainly on those that entailed some aspects. I want to pause for a second, Belle, before we move on, and make sure Charan and Xiaojing don't want to add comments. Xiaojing? No. Charan? We're good. Okay, great.
Okay, so we will talk about methods. So our first research are a mixed method research. We use ethnographic approach, including online observations, content publishing, tracking, and systematic content analysis of online videos. And the rest of 3 research are qualitative. We wanted to do some quantitative study in the future, especially validate our framework. And we use different way to analyze data. For the second research, we use inductive content analysis. We will showcase a sample later, and the rest of 2 are adopted iterative semantic analysis. So this is our data collection procedure for both first one and second one. You can see this is very much like a systematic video review. We start with identify effective keywords, and then we do manual searching, screening, and we also, can you go next slide? Right, so we use a combination of keywords or Boolean words to search on YouTube, and we only those video that directly discuss or represented ChatGPT in the context of language education were included in our sample. And we wanted to ensure that the research focus remain on specific to the representation and discussion of ChatGPT in language education. Those videos did not have primarily focused on language education, but rather covered topics such as academic writing were excluded from the sample. And to ensure the quality, we excluded videos that were shorter than 2 minutes. We know that on YouTube there are two types of videos, shorts and the regular video. We didn't include those shorts video because they don't provide enough insights. And then the selected video were organized in a Google spreadsheet by their publication date, video title, description, channel name, and about page. So for our first, to maintain the current and comprehensive sample, we utilize the video scraller to collect all YouTube videos that were tagged with ChatGPT and relevant search keywords in title, as mentioned, title, description, and text. And we did a cross check of those results with what we have in the existing Google spreadsheet, and that we search by hand to ensure there is no illegible video were missed. So in total, we have 140 video were identified from December 15, because the first video on YouTube was published on 12/15 by Tom Galley. And this is how we document and organize included videos. And this is a sample of how we conducted systematic content analysis of online video.
You want to explain any of those categories or not?
So this is just a category that we did at the first run, and all the numbers you can see it because we give a number of each videos, and then when we generate any ideas, we will put the source so that we know where are they coming from.
And so the video selection criteria included quality and engagement, uniqueness, relevance, diversification, and validity and credibility. Bell and/or Xiaojing, they developed this, with me, the selection criteria, and this is the scheme. Bell will explain it a little more now.
Right. So this is for the second research, not for the first research. For the second research, the second round of video search were conducted. The first round is from December 15 to April 10, and the second round is from April 11 to May 30. And the second round aimed to verify the results yield from the first round and remove those deleted video because there are some of the video removed by the author and add new releases. And this refined criteria aim to encompass a diverse range of content creators, languages, and perspectives. We value the content quality and engagement and its uniqueness and relevances. We also wanted to have content creators who from diverse backgrounds and hold different perspectives. And we also wanted them we also want to make sure that the content they made are valid. This image demonstrates our method of organizing videos within our report to more effectively identify those best aligned with the selection criteria. This is a sample of how we conducted inductive content analysis. Has a comments and video.
And so I think I'm taking back over here, Belle, is that right? On the research questions that we have. And so in study one, first question, was the focus of the discussion and any demos by the YouTube content creators of ChatGPT in language education? So what are they focusing on? What are they doing? Well, what's going on? And let me just pause for a second and just say, doing this research was really fun. The interview part, the talking to them, because they're not bored with their jobs. These people are excited about what they do. And so if you're looking for a job in life and want to have fun, I'd recommend you teach a language online using YouTube or something else, because these people they not only are having fun, a lot of these people are fun people, just good people to hang around with. And they all want to be identified. They didn't want to be anonymous. They said, please, share our names with folks. So, we don't have to worry about anonymity. We got that clear with the IRB board, and, they're marketing. These people are marketing themselves, and they were happy we interviewed them. And I've got several studies right now where we're interviewing folks in different, I've got study of Duolingo, I've got studies of MOOCs, and each one is a unique population, and it's kind of fun doing this kind of research. So how do content creators describe their current practices using ChatGPT in language education? What are they doing? What are they focusing on? And then, how do they describe what they're doing? So what is the focus of the discussion? Sub questions then come up. How has the discussion around ChatGPT and other AIs evolved in its brief history as a tool for language education? How's it evolved? Already it has evolved because of first use, second use. Who is producing the videos? Where do they come from? And what's their experience levels? Are they language people to begin with already, or are they coming from other fields? What are common topics and themes presented in these discussions in demonstrations? So if we can look for commonalities, we can maybe see a common innovative pedagogies that they're using, and that could be shareable and with other people that might utilize them. So if we look at time lapse, here, November 30th, the big announcements about ChatGPT, or a little bit earlier than that, the discussion, what happened here in terms of the discussion from November of 2022 to April 10th, and then we look at the trends of the videos for the languages. We see Japanese quite high, English quite high, French, and Chinese, and then multiple languages. Belle designed these charts. So Belle, you want to elaborate any more on these?
So we can see that there is an upward trend, and yes, as Dr. Bonk just mentioned, multilingual. A lot of videos are not targeting only one language; they explore multiple languages. Right.
And there's even some, low, I forget what you call it, the more rare languages that are being taught. Less commonly taught are being taught. So this Tom Galley, who has the first video, and he's the first one I think that we actually interviewed. He's living in Japan, recently retired. Very interested in what's going on. Very excited we were doing research on this actually. And his video's more of an academic one. Of all the videos out there, had more of an academic tone. But this is almost as good a quality for an NPR video what he's produced here and what he has done. So how's the discussion changed around ChatGPT and AI technologies? How's it evolved during its brief history? And who's producing these kinds of things? Well, a lot of these people don't have just one role. Some of these people are learners and teachers at the same time. Some of these people are technology professionals and teachers, or e-learning providers. So it's hard to subdivide folks into particular slots here, because many people are multi-talented or have different needs and different aspects to their lives, their professional lives and their outside personal lives. But when we look at it, it's educators who are out there producing this kind of content, technology professionals, learners, e-learning providers, but educators, and of those, it's language teachers and instructors, over 90%, some university professors, some teacher trainers, and so forth. The distribution is kind of interesting. Belle, again, you want to comment on this?
Yes, the majority of content creators were identified as educator, and they are primarily language teachers. And and also some of YouTubers are not directly teach a student, but they provided e-learning content on various languages. And also, learners also play a significant role in creating content on these topics. It's suggesting that learners also find value in this AI-based tool for language learning.
Right. And then again, who's producing videos about ChatGPT and language education? Well, it's English teachers, number one, and polyglots. And then as number two, we get into Japanese, which we were kind of surprised at first. It does link to my research on Duolingo. People are learning Japanese quite a bit. Chinese, French, Spanish, German, Spanish, and Korean, and then polyglots. So you can see the languages being taught and the type of learners, Japanese language learners, Spanish language learners, and so forth. And then, one of the common kinds of themes here in topics in these discussions and demonstrations, well, of course, they're introducing what ChatGPT is to each other, what it's all about, the possible roles of ChatGPT in language learning, being a personal assistant or being a coach or being a tutor or whatever. The kinds of demonstrations that are being conducted with these kinds of tools, the strategies, guidelines, tips, and so forth within language learning, the attitudes about the possibilities for using generative AI to learn a language, and the potential solutions that are obvious or not so obvious, the plugins that might go in with ChatGPT and so forth. So Belle's going to take over on the next slide, but I think she has a couple things to comment on here first. And go ahead, Belle.
No, I don't have
Okay,
any
we'll go ahead.
comment.
And so again, before we go to too far here, Charan or Xiaojing, do you have anything that we've talked about to add so far? Okay, I think Charan's going to be Go ahead, Charan.
Oh, I just want to mention that Xiaojing shared a lot of resources in the chat if you want to check that out.
Thank you. Belle?
Okay, so this is this figure provides a typical structure of a YouTube video that that discuss of use of ChatGPT in language. And you can watch one, then you will know how it's structured. So we will talk about our second research question. We put it into two sub-research questions. How do they perceive the potential benefits and drawbacks, and what strategies do they use to mitigate those drawbacks and the concerns to ensure that ChatGPT is effectively used? So this is a list of benefits. I wanted to highlight the fifth one being especially beneficial for students who struggle with traditional teaching method or have special learning needs. Our next slides, has a video. Dr. Bonk, can you go to next slides?
Well, I just want to say, people are probably still soaking this one in. There's a lot there in terms of benefits, including helping make annotations, test preparations, as you see in here, vocabulary building. That's a big one for some people who are insecure about their skills in a language, vocabulary building. I noticed that in a lot of the articles I've been reading lately, just giving people access to a tutor. Recently, there's a study showing that high school kids find that ChatGPT is more reliable tutor, more helpful than a human tutor in many cases, especially in the science and math areas. So this is something that coincides there. And really, we're thinking about these tools as augmentative aid. It's not necessarily replacing, but augmenting what you have available to you. And so in a way, it's enhancing and getting you involved in conversations in a safe environment. So all these are important. That's why I didn't want to jump. Go ahead, Belle.
Right. So this one, it's about the special needs students. For example, this one demonstrates how dyslexic students used with the help of ChatGPT to learn languages.
Again, getting some secure help with grammar, just simple grammar, and getting some feedback, right?
Right. More benefits. Dr. Xiaojing, do you want to comment on any of them?
Okay. So number 6, I guess you kind of links in with what I mentioned earlier. Just, this becomes another tool to give you some lessons and some worksheets, and so self-testing becomes important here. But not just self-testing in the old ways, self-testing with intelligent aid next to you. They can immediately give you some feedback, and so it's personalizing the learning environments, which makes it in turn more enjoyable and more engaging for the learners. Yeah.
Right, and actually, I do have, sorry, one point, like the last point, reducing the workload for language teachers, and ChatGPT is not perfect, but you can use it to get started with, for example, lesson plan. There is an article, I can share that article, a high school teacher showing how she uses ChatGPT to help her create a lesson plan to teach a subject. But of course, then she demonstrated how she go through the lesson plan provided by the ChatGPT, and how she modify it in the process, and how she adjust her prompts and everything. So so that's something that's useful. Another useful thing is to create customized materials for you, and this is especially helpful if you are an instructor teaching less commonly taught languages, because if you teach Spanish, then most likely you have all the materials you need for students, including the assignments, including reading materials. But less commonly taught language instructors usually don't have that. Greek, and you may not even have a textbook. So the power of ChatGPT to be able to generate very natural language can help with this aspect. And you can customize, you can put in the keywords you want to show up, like the words you have just taught your student, and make it to generate a specific type of text. But of course, I shared a link of my workshop, but I demonstrated there are certain genres that doesn't work. And also ChatGPT, as far as I know, I don't think it really understands what we're talking about, the actual levels, the proficiency levels. But there is a way that you can specify the level of proficiency of the text you want it to generate. Yeah.
And so these lessons exist, but not only these 140 videos, these people are out there too. So they have a human help and technology help. It's the best of both worlds when you get a YouTuber teaching you languages utilizing AI, and if you learn how to utilize AI effectively to learn language, it's more powerful.
Right. This is are some AI powered language apps. The ChatGPT help a lot of startup companies. They are starting to create more learning experience for students.
It's exploding.
So here is our interview data. So our interview data can also answer our questions. So we put some interview data here. Those words are from our interviewees when they describing ChatGPT. Use 3 to 4 words to describe ChatGPT, and most of them are very positive, as you can see here. Only several are neutral or negative. For example, agreeable, not 100% reliable, but rest of them are very positive.
And I will say, of the first couple of people we interviewed, they had difficulty with this question. Maybe we weren't phrasing it right, but later on, as we went through the interview process, increasingly they were able to label 3 or 4 words to best describe. This is a good question if you're doing survey research, having people, limit themselves to 3 or 4 words and seeing what they come up with. And so now we go through some quotes here. Fabrizio and Lucas, who are the Brazilian guys from Language Boost. I think it's our future. It's it's inevitable. And then Joe Kagonka, who's originally from the UK, living in Australia because her husband moved off to Australia. She had to join him. So it can generate flawless English if language can produce it in that way that isn't taken from chunks out. That's machine produced language. It's not machine translated language. That really does change things. So machines can produce language that's accessible in an easy way for the learners to learn. And Carlos from Madrid, I think, right, Belle?
Right.
Yeah, Carlos said, if I could
UK.
talk
I don't
about,
remember exactly.
he might have been from Madrid and living in the UK.
Yeah,
I
right.
think. So yes, there's a lot of people living in the UK teaching languages, and Madrid, Spain, and Japan and USA. Those were the predominant countries. We have one from Poland, and a few other countries as well out here. If I can talk about anything, I can talk about anything, and the answers are both positive in terms of optimism displayed by the bots and informative. And it's very rare to find that combination in human interlocutor situations, especially when you want to interact for extended periods. This is what sets it apart. It's flexible, it's patient, you can go long periods and so forth. I'll let Belle take back over here.
So those are the drawbacks from our findings. For example, lack of emotional and empathetic responses, limited creativity, lack of content awareness. Those are not only for language learning, but also for all other stuffs as well. So the grammar, the language teaching YouTubers or all the YouTubers has concern or think ChatGPT's drawback is syntax and grammar errors. They cannot recognize or give you the 100% right correct grammar feedback.
Yeah,
and also like opportunity for speaking practice.
Yeah, that was a big one that I think in terms of suggestions for the future is opportunities for speaking practice was a big one. And for me, it's number 2 up there, the limited creativity, and maybe number 1, limited emotional. But number 10 was mentioned by a whole lot of people out there.
And about syntax and grammar, I think, if I remember correctly, most of them were not really saying the text it generated is grammatically wrong, but it's more about ChatGPT's limited ability to explain grammar, especially when it's tricky. So one example I think they were given is it asks it gives ChatGPT a student produced assignment, and it corrects the assignment, but the most important error wasn't pointed out, but a less important an error that usually that teacher would just ignore was corrected.
So we have concerns. Go ahead, Belle.
Right, we have concerns here. For example, the danger of being too dependent on ChatGPT for writing essay and creative writing. Because of limited creativity and, absolutely concern for creative writing by using ChatGPT, and potentially replacing human workers, creating competition, insecurity, and fear. I wanted to highlight the plagiarisms one. In the interview of Chomsky, we didn't interview Chomsky, but in the YouTube video that somebody interviewed Chomsky said ChatGPT is just a high-tech plagiarism.
And the Language Boost guys interviewed Barack Obama, but it was a fake interview. They used AI to create a voice and interactions. It was really cute, kind of funny, and so forth. But Belle, can you remember which of the articles have our benefits and have the concerns? Is it 2 different articles that we published? Was it the languages article?
This is the first one.
The languages.
The languages one.
Yeah. So if you download the languages article, you can read about these and find them and share them. Belle?
Okay, so those are some interview data that we have to. They talk about the drawbacks and concerns. For example, social Chinese talking about, we're talking about this is a limited creativity example. When you ask ChatGPT to write article, 10 out of 10 times, it gives her a really boring article, and she doesn't think that is quite catching or engaging, so it cannot directly use for learners. And this I can't pronounce his name. Improve your English person. He said sometimes it will give you I cannot pronounce
hallucination. It hallucinates.
Hallucination or feed you incorrect information, because what it's doing is creating text and it's not always correct. Yes, right. It's really good at producing text, but it's not always correct. And for Tom Galley, he mentioned that we have a lot of different versions of English. This is very important for language learners, but ChatGPT produced this kind of very wide, bright textbook style. It's very standardized, as you can see from the words for describe ChatGPT. It's very standardized and very academic, very formal language, and not too old-fashioned, but not too slang. And also, their YouTuber, we actually interviewed him as well, I think. Oh yeah, this is from our interview data. There are some concerns when we got to think about how we are going to make sure that ChatGPT is a good tool that helps students and doesn't basically undermine some of skills that really we do believe are fundamental for them. So here are strategies that they mentioned to mitigate those drawbacks. For example, we need empathy and assistance for those who cannot use ChatGPT. I went back to China this summer and I found that my mom even don't know how to register for an account. That's really surprised me. So we need empathy for them. They also mentioned double checking and use other tools and resources. They actually recommend a lot of in their video, and for example, plugging and add-ons such as voice control, talk to ChatGPT, and neutral readers and influency such tools. And also there are more, for example, emphasizing the importance of learners' motivation and efforts, and all about prompt.
We're getting near the end here, I think. I don't know if we have a couple more slides left. I know we're running out of time, Bill. So,
Right,
so
I will do very quick.
Yeah. So this study number 2, which is the ICALT paper, is that right? So, language was number 1. So, how do the communities perceive the affordances of ChatGPT across the languages, not just in one, and what are best practices of language use? So, Bill?
Yes, so this study we discussed 18 languages categorized into 4 groups, and we categorized based on live study. Live study is not an educational study; it's a very large language model study. It categorize languages into like high resources language, media resources language, or and low resources language. And based on that, we categorize our identified 18 languages into 4 groups: Romanized language with high resources, non-Romanized language with high resources, medium resources, languages with medium resources, and less frequently used language. Right. Okay, so while exploring 18 different languages, there was a striking consistency or consensus that they made regarding whether ChatGPT can replace human language teachers. They believe that ChatGPT is just a knowledgeable native speaker rather than professional language teacher. And ChatGPT, this is what very much like what Carl said, it's both positive and informative, and it can help to avoid language fatigue during extended conversations. And we identified 2 gaps. The first gap we called learning optimization gap. The first gap arises from learners' inability to fully leverage ChatGPT's technical affordance, leading to reduced educational affordance. This limitation actually stems from learning struggle in operating ChatGPT effectively, and so it will hinder their ability to maximize its potential for language learning. So this means that it is very important or crucial to address learners as well as teachers' limitation in operating ChatGPT and provide guidance and training to enhance their proficiency and utilize the systems. And the second gap emerges between the material presented by ChatGPT and the learner's capacity to comprehend or absorb the knowledge being conveyed. We also labeled it as cognitive alignment gap or knowledge comprehension gap.
And these 2 terms were insights that Bell had, I think these are the unique contributions of this second study, is coming up with concepts that are worth exploration by other people for the follow-ups. And so we may be wrong in labeling them this way. I think they are accurate in terms of where the field needs, what they need to address in terms of AI. Bill, we'll go
Right.
to the next one.
So those slides are just the best practice cases that we presented at our second paper. You can go check the second paper. We talk about those in detail.
Yeah. So different people, different best practices, and so forth. This is Dustin from Germany, who we did interview. Very interesting guy.
And this guy used PPP approach to help students to self-direct their learning by using this approach with the help of ChatGPT. So
they've all designed their own pedagogical methods or approaches. This is one that each one of these people, we could have done a totally different study just trying to collect innovative pedagogy. That was part of our study, right? A key part of our study. Study 3, now we involve Charan, and again, we've run out of time here, so we want to make sure we just cover this kind of quickly on the last 2 studies, Bill and Charan.
So this study, we investigate the perception of generative AI as a tool for self-direct language learning, and also strategies recommended by them to effectively utilize ChatGPT for enhancing SDLL. The guidelines they suggested for foster SDLL with AI, and the finding shows that they suggest to foster SDL with the findings show that YouTube-based language educator, they acknowledge that ChatGPT is a vital tool for SDLL because it's offer availability, versatility, and transformative potential. If you didn't catch it, SDLL is self-directed language learning. Yeah. So it's an aspect of self-directed learning. Do you have anything to add, Charan?
Just want to mention the vanilla metaphor, which is very similar to what Tom Galley said is the white bread, right? So they use similar metaphors to refer to the limitation of ChatGPT.
Vanilla bland, just like undergraduate textbooks. I have one back in the old days, and the publishers make them so bland. That's what sometimes ChatGPT can be. Belle? This is 5 themes I generated from our third research. Take ChatGPT as a lawyer, conversational partner for language practice, and embrace ChatGPT's imperfections, don't dismiss its potential, use this as a tool, not a crutch. This is actually a quote from one of our interview. And foster a language-centered approach to generative AI instruction, cultivating responsive AI utilization in language education. And our 4th study, we use the Song-and-Hughes model, Song-and-Hughes self-directed learning model in online environment. So this is their model. And can you go next, Dr. Bonk? So I'll try and clarify that. Lillian Song, S-O-N-G, and Janet Hill, H-I-L-L. Janet Hill was from Georgia. Lillian Song was her grad student. And then Lillian is now at Towson University in Maryland. And we asked her permission to make modifications to her model, and she became a face validity. She actually explored this and looked at it and said, this is an enhancement to my model in an AI world. So we've enhanced this has been used by a lot of people to study self-directed learning, but not AI enhanced self-directed learning. So it needed some criteria. So Charan worked really hard with Bell to come up with a more encompassing framework. So this is so Bell's 2 terms, concepts she came up with, this is our other contribution I see as key to our study. That's why I paused here for a minute. Didn't want to gloss over it, because in 10 years from now, this could be cited a lot, or maybe they'll throw it in the garbage can. We don't know. So Charan?
Sure. So we did a thematic analysis to come up with the categories and subcategories in terms of how AI can enhance self-directed learning. So this is our theme, the code book. So here is the updated model. You can see we have autonomous adaptive process and design elements, supporting elements. So social elements, especially the social elements, we find this is something that is very particular to AI. Many of the social, ethical, institutional policy, those kind of considerations, which are not much addressed in the previous model because those were not one of the major concerns for self-directed learning. And
So-
we emphasize,
So
yeah,
this is the old model, Song and
Right.
Hill. This is our new model, or our presented model anyhow.
right. And we changed one of the process. So in the original model, it was called what's that called? Autonomous adaptive process.
It just called
Um,
process.
Yes. So we changed that into autonomous and adaptive process because we believe when you interact with ChatGPT, with the AI, you're also learning, you're also adapting, you're learning. So a lot of iterative process, which is a key to the success of using AI to facilitate self-directed learning.
We have many limitations, many implications. We'll just, Belle, you want to mention one or two of each?
Maybe just rely on YouTube because YouTubers, they're more prefer to use new technology, so their perspective are maybe more positive or a little bit biased, but I think they're experienced and also and they cover lots of languages, but their the YouTube videos online are have with varying levels of expertise qualifications. So we really work really hard to include those high quality videos, but there are still some of the content that we cannot control.
I think you're unclear about that, Belle. When you said rely on YouTube videos, you're listening as a limitation or as an implication?
Limitation.
Limitation. So please, it didn't sound like it, so I'm going to be clear. We're not suggesting you rely on only YouTube videos. So yeah, so I guess that's the end of this. We have some references here, a whole bunch and so if you want the slides, if you would like to get them, just go to trainingshare.com, one word, and click on archive talks. So they'll be downloadable as a PDF as well as the original slides. You can have either one, along with all my talks to Cairo in a couple of days and other places, tonight's talk to Malaysia. So there's a lot of stuff, but Belle, Xiaojing, Charan have really worked hard on this project, as you can see. And we've been effective, highly productive, which is really nice to see something come to fruition this quickly and actually I think is making a contribution to it's not just, what we've been able to take that data and rethink about it, not only what the limitations, what the benefits are, what the strengths are, but to also think conceptually about the field, and think about frameworks for analyzing the field to help other people who might be exploring this as well. So this has been a multi-pronged approach to the study of language learning in an AI-enhanced world, and there's more to come. This is, given this is 8 months and we're already at this point. I mean, other studies often, if Andy has been around a while and Dazhi's been around a while, they know that sometimes it could take 3 years just to get something submitted based on a project, or a couple of years. I hate to admit, sometimes my research takes longer than that, so it's really, really, really interesting and kind of fun to be in a project where you can see an impact of one's work, see it, people actually discussing it, talking about. This is our first run through. I hope you appreciate this is our first time. We didn't even practice. So I think I want to So before questions, can we give a round of applause for Xiaojing and Sharon and Bell for, all that? They're really brilliant folks. So
Yes,
questions?
thank
Yeah.
you so much, Dr. Bonk and Ms. Belny, Dr. Xiaojing Ko, and Dr. Chao Ruan Wan for the amazing work and the talk, and really inspiring. It's very timely, and AI is all over the place, and I'm so happy to see you and your team first time present to us, and we are so privileged to hear your research tonight. So we are open up for questions.
And comments. Either one, comments or questions. Go ahead, Andy.
Yes.
I wrote down so many questions because my research field is in machine learning, and actually back to like 6 or 7 years ago, when I submitted my manuscript to educational journal, actually there was no reviewers can review our manuscript, so they suggest us to transfer our manuscript to other fields like computer science. So yeah, but because of this course and our students, they are first year or the second year doctoral students. So and the time limit, I really just wanted to ask one question for my students. When you have innovative research ideas, how to define your scope and narrow down your topic into one doable study for either for publication or for dissertation?
So I'll let my colleagues answer it first, and I'll add to their comments. Who would like to start us off there?
Well, I'll try. I'm not an expert on teaching research methodology, but I would say you can start from number one, your own expertise. If this is, would you already know a lot in that field? And another factor would be what the field really needs. So a combination of, what other people really want to learn from you, and also what you are really good at.
Belle, you want to add to that?
Sure. So before looking at YouTubers, so I actually tried different topics before. I did Twitter. I tried to do the code scraller from all the Twitter data and to see if it's doable, and it's not because there are too many dirty data there. And I tried Red. It's an app in a Chinese app, social media app, and it's not feasible because all the perspective are from Chinese. And then I had an idea on this YouTube things because I used to have research focused on YouTubers' identity. So I think before have a doable or feasible research plan, you have to try different topics and to see which one which one works best for you. And then the second thing is to write it down, because a lot of research idea quickly disappeared. When you have it, just write it down. And if you write it, you will figure out there are some cracks that then you need to fix or go deeper into to see if it's okay. And then find brilliant people to work with you, because they will bring new blood to your research, and never be afraid to ask for help.
Ron?
Yes, I really agree with the last one you just mentioned, having good team. And also I want to add, when you think about, for instance, submitting something to a journal, I think sometimes people when they start writing, they already have some target journals in mind, and that helps you to frame your manuscript really targeted. And when you have your who are likely to to review your paper. Like if you're doing interdisciplinary research, you really have to cite people in that field so that they know you are part of them. I encounter this issue a lot because I am doing interdisciplinary research sometimes when I submit to writing journal or to TESOL journal or to journals that are more EdTech oriented. So I have to switch gears and then think about, even though some theories are related, but I have to use the language of that field. Maybe this is related to your experience. You mentioned in the beginning too.
So I'll add two things to that. One is the committee, just all of us sitting down and discussing and talking about what's possible, and multiple brains, can narrow in a bit. I'm one who doesn't like a lot of meetings, but the most valuable meetings for this team was that decision, that very decision you were talking about, looking at the data, looking at what's possible, discussing it or what could be possible. Second thing, if you've got a student who has multiple ideas for a research project, have them write down a paragraph of each idea. And if the paragraph that they're more excited about, they'll write rather quickly, and the one that they're not as interested in, they take a long time. So it becomes just a one paragraph or two paragraphs written down, an abstract of a potential paper. That's often the most valuable technique in that decision-making process. You can talk to peers, you can hear what's coming out of conference. There's all sorts of things that delimit our scope in our research methods. Just keeping a careful eye at conferences and going to sessions, sitting in the back of the room and taking notes is very valuable, So we've got lots of questions, hands raised. So I saw Eric's hand up. I saw Stephen's hand up. Stephen?
Hi. Most of you, if not all of you, have experience. I'm fighting my dog. I'm so sorry. She's bad. Experience with language as well as ed tech. And it can me not so much on the language side of it, working with ed tech, but a research interest of mine is ChatGPT and education, and that's way too broad. Do any of you know of any what you would consider seminal or influential books or articles or even people that are leading the charge with AI in general, not necessarily involving language?
Yeah, so Chris Dazhi, who's got a $20 million grant right now, he's been around for DEDE. He was the guest in my class last night. I could send you the link. You can watch the video. We've taped him, but he's been around for 50 years, he said, and he was interested in AI when I was in grad school a long time ago, and now he's got the huge grant with 5 different centers in a $20 million NSF grant. So he'd be one of the people. I'm not saying he's the only one, but of general observations, and he has several books, not all related to AI, but he has teacher training books. He has very scalability books. He has lifelong learning, a 60-year curriculum book. He's got he's been around a long time, so he'd be one. Does anyone else have another person who people might want to read to get a general sense of this field of AI? If not, let's go on to we got lots more questions. Let's start with Chris Dazhi. There are others out there. Another question. So Aaliyah says, do you think what? Go ahead, Aaliyah.
Okay, so I'll just explain. Yes, my question is, do you think there will be enough material in these massive information spaces such as YouTube or YouTube Kids for all algorithms to do sort of an immersive language learning where there are other videos along with the teaching videos that are sort of pushed onto the user, such as interviews in that language, world news in that language, and or like skits?
I guess this question is best for any of my 3 colleagues here. They come from language field, so I'm more of a ed psych person and an ed tech. So Xiaojing or Bell or Charan?
That's such an interesting question. I never thought about using YouTube as an immersive learning environment. I would say that it adds to that to some extent, but study abroad and cultural exchange is also cannot replace some of the experiences you're going to get from immersive from the videos in YouTube.
Belle? You've thought about this, Belle. I'm sure you have, because you've thought about everything. So
I just think this is so interesting. This can be a research question.
I don't think at least for kids it's enough, because for adult it's YouTube, those video without any interactive features. It's okay for adults to learn a language because they have higher direct learning abilities, but for kids they're not. And for most of the polylogs that we interviewed and the videos that we watched, they are not solely depends on YouTube. They use different technologies to help their learning. They use Youglish. They use what's that called? DEPL. I can type it. So they use different way and different apps, and they will try out lots of different learning apps. So YouTube will not be able to provide you, I believe YouTube would not provide you or a kids immersive language learning. But since VR, AR, and this AI stuff getting really advanced, I believe those technology will help in the future.
we should go to another question. Who wants to jump in here? April looks like she's out in the mountains somewhere, so just meditating here, in her screenshots. She's probably not even listening,
No, I am.
You have a question for us?
I don't. I think it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, I was a former French teacher, so I'm like writing all of these things down to pass along to my colleagues, but I don't have questions.
That's fine. And Georgia had her hand up and waved and clapped many times. Georgia?
I have no questions either, but I really enjoyed the presentation and I'm really interested in that. I would like to look into Greek language and AI, as I'm Greek a little bit. So, but I found it really, really interesting, and thank you for sharing your results.
Hot off the press. I know Andy has multiple questions. Why don't you ask your second one, Andy? You're muted, by the way.
Thank you. I do have another question. Because the generative model actually is just a subdomain in machine learning, and if you really get into the how ChatGPT was trained, actually it is not, it made no difference from ChatGPT or other chatbot, but ChatGPT collected the larger data set, but you still need to have someone to label the correctness of the response. So my question would be, based on your observation, why, because learning analytics and the machine learning or like educational data mining has been a while, but why this time is a little bit different and attracted so many attentions?
Why is this time different? I've been interested in AI for decades, actually. I was reading IEEE artificial intelligence, American Association for Artificial Intelligence a long, long time ago. We finally come to a moment where it's a tipping point because of, number one, it's ease of use and understanding, and it's readily available. It's no longer abstract, obscure coding, in the computer science side of the field. It's something can be. So if you're a member of American Educational Research Association, AERA, we're starting a new special interest group on AI in education. So I've wanted an AI in education special interest group. There's one forming now because there's research being done on it. People are implementing, teachers are starting to become aware of it. When it gets to a level of teachers, of instructors, of students, of parents, well, you know, it's no longer in the hands of a single or a couple different disciplines, machine learning people and informatics people and engineering people and so forth. It's now expanded to a wider population, and because they see it embedded in you know, on their on their bodies. You know, your mobile phones in your pocket are, you know, have a personal chatbot, and it's had it longer than ChatGPT. For a number of years, I've had this Samsung phone with, I forget the chat bot, because I don't use this. It's not as good as the Apple iPhone one, you know, the chat bot in Siri and others. But because they're on our person, because they're eventually in our toasters, in our refrigerators, they're in our cars. We look at our cars, a lot of, you know, in our searching through Amazon, it's AI based, you know, kind of feedback and suggestions and so forth. So it's embedded in our lives. Before, we used to have it, we talk about possibilities to be embedded in our lives. Today, it is embedded in our lives. And because it is embedded, people want to find out what's going on. What are the benefits? What are potential drawbacks? And in effect, that's what we've been studying in a narrow way, looking at language learning. But if you really carefully look at these, the strengths and the benefits and the limitations, many of those apply across disciplines. You could be doing research on something else, could be counseling psychology, for instance. Some of the same drawbacks will exist in that field as well, you know, and you could use AI for digital marketing. Some of the same drawbacks and benefits will exist. So while I say we're pretty circumscribed into the language learning camp, a lot of what we're studying is going to be useful, I believe, my perspective, to many people. In fact, it's something that I could go to my brothers and sisters and family members at Christmas and talk about, and they'd all wanted to hear what we found and discuss it. 20 or 30 years ago, the field of educational technology as a whole was back page news, was the back page. Online learning was the back page. About 15 years ago, it became the front page, because people like you're getting your doctorates, many of you, or your master's degrees or certificates in an online environment, with ever stepping foot on the Boise State campus and seeing their blue football field and whatever else they've got there at you know, going, you know, beautiful place, Boise State. And so, you know, because it's directly, you know, learning technology is directly impacting everyone's lives. There are more jobs than ever before in the field, and variations on the job. So I've been studying LinkedIn and the job postings, or in Twitter and job postings in the field. It's pretty amazing the range of things that are being asked of people in the learning, design, and technology field, and the amount of opportunities that exist today. And it's going to snowball because of AI. And so we need to take the first step. People in the field of learning, design, and technology need to be jumping in and finding out what can we help, how can we help other people understand the field, understand the benefits, and maybe create tools that can be tools that can overcome some of those challenges or barriers and whatnot. So, you know, we've made this, it's common. I mean, it's part of society today. Instead of talking about it being a potential part of society, today it is a part of society. That's what the difference is. And people are scrambling to catch up because this is sort of happened so fast. But in every wave of technology, I think about ebooks, for instance. We talked about ebooks and multimedia books and whatnot for decades, hypermedia, multimedia, whatnot. But in 2009, when I had a book, I published this book, The World is Open, in 2009. That year, that was the first opener I talk about in this book. That year was the year of the ebook. It's just everyone is starting to adopt ebooks. This past year has been the year of AI. You see this happening in immersive worlds. All these technologies have been talked about, but all of a sudden there's a tipping point that happens about ease of use, cost, ease of use, and access. When those three things happen, you see the embracement of them, and also opportunity, I guess, is another one. Cost, ease of use, access, and opportunities in the field that could affect you personally or professionally. I've already talked a lot about that question. But Andy, did you have yet a third question? I think we can only take one or two more questions. Our time is up, according to Dazhi. Go ahead, Dazhi.
Thank you. I have one quick, actually two quick questions regarding the function of ChatGPT. And while during the listening to the wonderful presentation, I did a quick chat with ChatGPT. I asked how to say hello in Japanese, and it gave me 6 different ways to say, and advised me when to say what. But I was wondering if ChatGPT can pronounce it. For example, I only know how to say konnichiwa. I don't know how to say the second, the third or fourth one. So is there a function ChatGPT can pronounce the words?
Yeah, ChatGPT itself doesn't have any audio feature, but you can add a plugin.
Okay.
So
the natural reader,
it
should
is-
we?
yeah.
I'll put that in the window here. I've got the link.
So
Right.
that would require the paid version of ChatGPT.
No. The plugin does
It's free.
additional. Yeah, there are multiple plugins. Some of them are not really so good. So you can. I'm not sure. It also depends on what languages you're looking at. There may not be a plugin for all the languages looking at, but just for the example of the Japanese, like you actually, if you know Japanese, then you know there are different ways of labeling, you know, the sounds. Then you can simply ask ChatGPT to provide you also the Romaji. So because when you have the Romaji, then it's a way to label how you pronounce it. So even without audio, you can still know how to pronounce those.
The natural reader, just click on that. You can hear a voice that sounds, it whispers to you. It sounds, you're excited. It sounds different voices, and it's amazing. It's really amazing.
Those are the plugins. But just with text, Romaji, and as in Chinese, you can ask for pinyin. But
Cool.
yeah, but please be alert. Most of the time, pinyin are correct. The provided pinyin are correct. Occasionally, there's mistakes in the way they provide pinyin, especially the tones. Yeah.
Georgia, there's a tool called Chat PDF that will read your PDF documents, that will analyze them, ask 10 questions. It's a really cool tool.
Yeah.
Bella had her hand. Bella, did you want to add to the conversation?
So Google extensions are free, but if you wanted to have plug-in, you need ChatGPT 4. But those who I put into chat, they are a Google extension that can help your ChatGPT speak.
So again,
Yes.
I have to present at 2:30 in the mornings, and I have to prepare for that. But we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions before we need. So who would like to jump in with a?
Yeah, who else has questions?
Otherwise, we go to Andy, number 4. Does anyone else want to jump in, please?
I'll have another quick question.
Yeah.
So if we ask ChatGPT the same question, ask ChatGPT to assume different people, will those data be essentially the same?
No. When you give ChatGPT a role, it's going to perform differently. For example, when you engage in when you try to engage with a conversation with ChatGPT, and when you ask ChatGPT without giving any role, says, you know, let's chat. What do you feel today? Then ChatGPT will tell you that I'm a machine, I don't have feeling. But if you assign a role saying this is one of the example provided by the YouTuber, saying that, okay, let's practice speaking in a conversation, and imagine we are in a bar and you're a bartender. So this is the role assignment, and your name is Mark, and my name is, you know, Xiaojing. And then ChatGPT will be able to engage the conversation with you as if he was Mark, bartender. Then you would be able to talk about, you know, how happy you are that day. So role assignment make a difference. Yeah.
Lisa has her hand up.
Yeah, Lisa,
Yeah,
go ahead. Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, I haven't used ChatGPT because the place where I work, we have deal with a lot of confidential information, so it's just not allowed. So I haven't even experimented with it. Is it? I noticed on one of your slides you mentioned that the input ended in 2021. Is it not true machine learning, or?
Yeah, it's not real time. So if you ask it anything after it's trained, then it doesn't know.
So it's not continuously learning.
Yeah, it's not. But what you can do is you can also try Bing Chat. And I think Bing Chat also has a search, like it works together. It not just, generating text, but it also connected with the search engine. So Bing Chat should give you real time results. And as far as I know, you're concerned about the data, the privacy of the data, and actually IU has just announced that IU now has Bing Chat Enterprise. So if you use Bing Chat Enterprise, you can ask your university, and your IT person might know that they might also have Bing Chat Enterprise. So in order to use Bing Chat Enterprise, for example, at IU, we need to log in with your IU account. But once you log in that Bing Chat Enterprise, the features are still the same, but it's not going to save your chat, because ChatGPT would actually save your thread. So it's not going to save anything. It also says it's not going to use any of your input in train learning model. So it's safer. It's safer. Yeah. You still don't want to copy and paste confidential information there, but you feel more safe using the enterprise version.
Bing Chat Enterprise. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much. I think we are out of time.
Yeah, I think
Dr.
so.
Bonk has to prepare for another presentation.
Yeah.
Actually, the fourth paper we're working on, I have to make final edits. So this is a work in progress. Could I get everyone to do the world is open sign for me? You'll get a picture of everyone with their cameras on.
We should do this earlier when we have more people.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And
thank you so much.
We respond to email. They're in the slides. Get trainingshare.com. So, Belle has been the brains behind this. She should probably get the last word here before we stop the recording. Belle?
Just want to thank you for all of you to be here today with us. And read our article, please.
Yes, we will.
You have a copy.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
You can
Again,
send
thank
to
you.
everyone.
So I'm stop recording now.
Thank you so much.